And thank you so much for being here. My name is Nancy Alfaro with Whip of Wisdom Ministries from Atlanta, Georgia, and just wanted to share with you a word that God gave me, and I think it's a word for today, a word for right now, and I know God will speak to you. So the message today is called teabag. Yes, funny in a way, but I want to show you God was talking to me through a tea bag. Um, and have you ever feel like you are stuck just sitting under the heat, problems after problems, where time does not look to be on your favor? I learned that to be able to enjoy a good cup of tea, that tea bag have to be submerged in the water, but also the water have to be at a hot temperature. And when I started looking at this tea bag, initially when you put it in, it looks like it is just floating in there, right? It looks like it's just sitting, no movement, like nothing is happening. Actually, this tea bag has lemon and ginger. So as it is sitting in here, I can start smelling that fresh aroma of the ginger. Still, I can still see as the bag is sitting in, there is an infusion going on. You see how that tea bag, the hot water, it starts extracting the content. And you know what I mean by the content because we had a full class, right? Remember about the content on that jar? The same thing, this tea bag has a content inside, but the essence, the extract of it, is not able to be out and infused until the hot water hits and until the right time. You gotta just leave it alone, let it sit there, and let that infusion takes place. Well, you may say, why this have to do with you and I? Well, when life gets crazy, it's that water, that boiling water. But I think the important thing is if we consider ourselves to be like this tea bag, one of the things that you get to learn is that it's only when we are submerged in His presence that we start seeing a change in our life. Now, God doesn't ask us to run away from our problems. As a matter of fact, when we read about the armor of God, and we had a study about that, and we put the helmet of salvation, and you see all the weapons, all the stuff that we have to cover ourselves from the enemy, everything that we use, the shield and the sword, everything is to go forward, is to attack it forward. There's nothing in our bags because we shouldn't be running away from our problems. We should be facing them. And why do I say this? Is because sometimes when life gets rough, when we feel under that pressure, where we feel like nothing is being moving to our favor, we need to understand that when we sit still in the presence, something starts happening. And see the process, I don't even have to move the bag. I can just leave the bag there and just let it sit. And that tea it will infuse. The water and the tea will infuse together. And you will see how the essence of the bag, the extract, come out. And it gives that beautiful flavor and that smell, right? Now, that aroma, I should say. So, this reminds me of a story in the Bible that I want to share with you. I'm going to share my screen here for a little because I want to share the scripture with you. And it's a little bit long, but you guys have seen this verse. It's a very well known story in the Bible. So, let me read through. We are on John 11, and we are talking about the story of Lazarus. And why is this important? Because I think you will understand the relationship between this story and my tea bag that I'm trying to talk to you about. So it says, now a man named Lazarus was sick. He was from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. This Mary, whose brother Lazarus now lay sick, was the same one who poured perfume on the Lord's and wiped his feet with her hair. So the sisters sent the word to Jesus, Lord, the one you love is sick. When he heard this, Jesus said, this sickness will not end in death. No, it is not. It, no, it is for God's glory, so that God, Son, may be glorified through it. And I want to make a pause here because at this moment, wouldn't it have been great if cell phones were back then to have a FaceTime call with Jesus and have him on video call and say, hey, Mary, hey, Martha, guess what? Lazarus is not going to die. I'll be there. Just wait for me. I'm about to do something amazing. Now, this is how, usually in our minds, we believe that things should happen. It is the minute the water starts getting hot, we say, God, let me know what's going to happen. I need to know what the next move is. And then when the next move doesn't happen, when I thought logically that it will happen, I usually get discouraged and I usually think that nothing is going on. But the truth of the matter, if we go back to the story, is what I want to point out here is that in the waiting, there's been a miracle being worked on. Just like this cup of tea, in the waiting, see how that water keeps being transformed and infused. Sorry, my camera acts up. Let me get it closer. But you see, if you can see that, I don't know, my camera is not picking that up right. But you get the point. The water keeps getting transformed, or the tea is getting transformed by the infusion with the water. So in the waiting, there is a miracle going on. So I want to point this out to you because for Mary and Martha in the story of Lazarus, you know, Jesus was saying he wouldn't die. However, there was no a cell phone for them to know they were apart from each other. There is something very serious going on with Mary and Martha at Lazarus' house. Their loved one is dying and Jesus is nowhere to be found. And they don't know that Jesus have spoken a word already, but they don't know this. So in their minds, Jesus is a little bit late. So let's keep hearing the story here. We go to verse 5. It says, now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was 2 more days. Now that doesn't make any logical sense. So let me get this right, Jesus. Your good friend is sick. They're calling you that is an emergency, and you're saying, wait a minute, I'm gonna wait 2 more days. It's logically in this story, it's a part of the story, like it doesn't fit in. It's like, what happened to the script? And I believe it's probably the most important thing that happened in this script is that say from Jesus. Because I want you to know that the delays in life come with lessons to learn and mature. There is a reason for Jesus to delay how quickly he was going to get to Lazarus. And if you read from different scholars, everybody have their own opinion, but I believe that when Jesus is ready to do something, time doesn't matter. He will just do it. He doesn't have to submit to a time, to a logical way of how he does things. So let's keep reading here. And so then he say, look, we're going to stay 2 more days. And then he says to his disciple, let's go back to Judea. And then they go through a discussion of, Master, you were almost killed there. Why are we going to going there? And they go into a back and forth. And then if we jump to verse 14, says, so after a while Jesus say, so then he told them plainly, Lazarus is dead. So Jesus already knew. This was no surprise for him. Jesus knew exactly what was going on in that house. Even with him not being there, he knew. And I want you to know that Jesus knows what's going on in your life, regardless of you seeing him there, feeling it, feeling the presence, feeling his aroma or not. Even when things go crazy, Jesus is there. He always knows what's going on, even when you are not even aware that he's there. But Jesus knew Lazarus is dead. And for your sake, I am glad I was not there so that you may believe. But let us go to him. Now, Jesus is saying, you know what? I'm doing this so everybody can believe in me. And that's very powerful because he even is saying, I am so glad I wasn't there. Because he's saying it would have been so easy that you guys wouldn't have learned anything about faith and believing in me. If I would just have been there, he wouldn't have even died. But because he wasn't there physically, there is a series of events that are going on in that household and also with his disciples where he's saying, I'm going to show you something. And I want to point out here that Jesus' plans does not follow our time or our logic. See, for you, the events when you have a loved one that is sick, the first thing you think is, God just heal him. And I want you to do it on this day, this way. But Jesus is saying, I don't follow a logic. I don't follow a plan. All that I need you to do is to believe that I'm doing something. And then, it goes on verse, let's see here. Then Thomas, verse 16, also known as Didymus, said to the rest of the disciple, let's go, let us also go that we may die with him. So here is one of the disciples that, I mean, they've been walking with Jesus. They have seen all the miracles. And obviously, Thomas is having a hard time believing because what he says, let us just go so we may just die with him. Why is that? Because they had a problem before where Jesus was being persecuted. And now you're telling me we're going to go back from where we came from. And now you're telling me we are going to go, he's dead, but you're telling me he's not. So here is where our logic get us in trouble. And you see it clearly what's going on with Thomas at that time. And you know what? We are very much like Thomas. When we are in the middle of the heat, when we are just there laying like my tea bag over here, where it feels like, just kill me now, Jesus, this is enough. And hot, and everything is being squeezed out of me. I cannot take it anymore, and just kill me, basically is what Thomas says. Now, if we go to verse 17, it says Jesus comforts the sister of Lazarus, and you and me know the story. On his arrival, Jesus finds that Lazarus had been in the tomb for 4 days. This was no surprise to Jesus. He knew this already. But it says, now Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them in the loss of their brother. So everybody was showing up. Imagine what was going on through Martha's and Mary's life, and they are already saying, everybody's here but Jesus. We call him, he never came. I want you to put yourself in the situation where you are believing with your heart that when Jesus comes, they were waiting to see that Jesus was just going to heal their brother. And what happened is Jesus didn't show up. In their mind, Jesus was too late. In their mind, there's nothing else we can do. That's what's going through their minds. Now it says, when Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed home. Lord, Martha said to Jesus, if you have been here, my brother will not have died. This is a frustrated Martha. And we know Martha, Martha, right? Martha is the one saying, Jesus, where were you? Haven't you been in Martha's position? I have. Where in the middle of the heat is on, you cannot take it anymore, and you say, Jesus, where have you been? Why you didn't come to my rescue yesterday? Not today. I needed it yesterday. Why you're not here? But then Martha goes and says, but I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask. So she knew, she had faith. She knew that because Jesus was there, something needed to happen. But her faith wasn't totally there, because the next sentence says, Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. And now Martha answers, I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day. So what's going on? We have a Jesus that is talking on the now. Your miracle is now, Martha. But Martha is thinking on a faith that is in the future. Oh, yes, Master, you show me. We will all resurrect on the day that you come for us. We will all resurrect with you. So, she is having an issue between logic and what Jesus is saying. And logic will get in the way of faith. And I want you to remember that. I want you to remember that, because God can be speaking to you like Jesus was talking to Martha. He can be in the room with you, telling you things will get better. But if you get the logic get in the way, you're going to miss out what Jesus is trying to say to you. I want you to think through what Jesus has been speaking to you, and to hold on to that promise and don't put any logic on it. You need to let Jesus be Jesus. Let him figure out the how. Way whatever is in your head on how things need to happen in order for you to receive the miracle. I want you to believe that if Jesus is in it, it's going to happen. Let the time, let the process be in his hands. If the process takes 10 steps, let him work through the 10 steps, because he knows what he's doing. When it was the time for Lazarus, it says that he came 4 days. He was already in the tomb when Jesus arrived. And that doesn't mean that he was late. He was right on the time that he needed to be. Why? Because he was trying to show. Think about how bigger of a miracle he was doing. For all the people that was there to believe that the impossible is being made possible. It is easier for us to see somebody getting healed, but seeing somebody being raised up from the dead, that's like, oh my gosh, the miracles of all. Because somehow, in our logical way of thinking, we put like stages on our faith, or even in the miracle. Even the fact that we're breathing today is the biggest miracle of all, but we had so used to it that we don't see it as a miracle anymore. God has been doing extraordinary things in your life every day, and you don't get to see them because they are now the natural to you. But I'm here to tell you that something happens in that moment when you come face to face with Jesus, when you get submerged in his waters, that you're able to get out of you, to extract, to get the word in you, because that's what's happening. The water penetrates the tea bag. That water is the living word. Penetrates and gets an extract. In between the two, they infuse together. There is power on that. Bringing what God has deposited in you to bring something out of you that is going to be even better than what you started with. Trust the process. So Jesus said to her, let's go to verse 25. I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die. And whoever live by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this? And I think that's the question that I want to make all of us to say, do we believe on what Jesus is spoken, what Jesus is saying to you and me tonight? Do you believe this? Do you believe that He is the resurrection and the life? Do you believe that God's plans are perfect? I want to encourage you today to believe that even if time seems off, even if things look out of whack, even if things look like they're not working, even if things look that there is way past the miracle point, logically speaking, if nothing is making sense, I am here to tell you that there is hope. You have all the perfect ingredients for a miracle to take place. Submerge yourself in His presence and let the essence to be extracted with His living waters. God wants to tell you today, you know what? Things are moving in your direction. There is a miracle going on. Jesus heard your prayer on day one when Lazarus got sick. And even though Lazarus is already in the tomb and 4 days too late, God is saying, I'm never late. I will come right on time, because through the process you will learn to see my hand and you will learn to believe in me. So the next time that you go through those heat up boiling waters, the best essence will come out of you. You will know with no doubt that submerging yourself in His presence will give you the fresh aroma and the best essence for you to be medicine for somebody else. Because do you know this specific tea I have here? That ginger is excellent for the stomach and it gives medicine. It suits you. So when you are being processed, because this tea I can give it to you raw and it won't do anything to you. But if I give it to you fresh and prepared, it's a tea that has been processed, that has been going through the boiling waters, that it knows how to submerge, and then the fresh aroma is being given out to somebody else as medicine for their body, because it's the living word that is in you. Because now your word, the word of God has been infused in you in a way that you know, hey, the next time a problem comes in, I know God is with me and God is doing something awesome. So that's a message for you tonight. I just truly want to encourage you not to give up. There is so much that God is doing. Trust the process. Take the timing out of God. God does not need a clock, He knows the perfect time. Trust the process, and you will see the beautiful thing that God is doing in your life and in the life of your loved ones. God bless you. I love you all.